Ladies and gentlemen, friends of Viking, World War II history lovers, it's my privilege to host you again in an episode dedicated to a little known, yet one of the most fierce battles in World War II, the Battle of Crete. With my good friend Andreas Foudoulis, season guide and the absolute expert on the Battle of Crete, we will try to shed some light on the dramatic events of this epic fight that cost Nazi Germany casualties equal to US losses on D-Day.
The Battle of Crete is unprecedented in three respects. First, it is the first airborne invasion of such a big scale in military history. Second, it's the first time Allies made significant use of intelligence from deciphered German Enigma code. Third, it is the first time that invading German troops encountered mass resistance from a civilian population. Because of the heavy casualties that German paratroopers suffered, Hitler forbade further large-scale airborne operations.
But let us quickly remember the events that led to the Battle of Crete. In October 1940, Italy declares war against Greece. Mussolini has already conquered Albania and is now dreaming big, making plans for a greater Italy and the rise of a new Roman Empire in the Eastern Mediterranean. His plans are buried in the snow, in the rugged mountains on the Greek-Albanian border. In the harsh winter months of 1940-41, the Greek army holds the line and soon manages to push back the invaders, 50 miles deep into Albanian soil.
Italians were completely demoralized, and their spring offensive with the codename Primavera failed greatly in 1941, and Hitler was forced to come to Mussolini's rescue.
On April 6, 1941, the Wehrmacht invades Greece from the Balkans, and within 3 weeks, the mainland is overrun.
With the mainland lost, Operation Demon is set in motion. 50,000 men, British, Australians and New Zealanders are evacuated to Egypt, and 20,000 are left on Crete to bolster the island's garrison.
From the town of Hania and the port of Souda, it only takes a few minutes to reach the battlegrounds of Maleme. If you've watched any of my previous episodes, you must remember Crete is not the average Greek island. It's huge, stretching 170 miles east to west, and it's the most strategic location in the Eastern Mediterranean. Possession of Crete provided the Royal Navy with excellent harbors, like the massive Souda Bay by the town of Hania. Crete is basically something like a natural aircraft carrier, from which the Allies could threaten the Axis southeastern flank. From the island, the Ploesti oil fields in Romania, critical to the Axis war effort, were within range of the British bombers, and both Hitler and Churchill know this well. To lose Crete because we had not sufficient bulk of forces, there would be a crime. But for Hitler too, Crete is under no circumstances to be allowed to interfere with the upcoming campaign against the Soviet Union. To secure his Romanian oil supply, he is eventually convinced by senior Luftwaffe commander Student to order the invasion of Crete.
Kurt Student was the architect of the Fallschirmjäger, the elite force of German Wehrmacht, and he was enthusiastic with the idea of capturing Crete by a daring airborne attack. The plan was simple: capture key points of the island and seize control of at least one of the airfields along the northern coast, and then use it to fly in supplies and reinforcements.
Before the main offensive and enjoying absolute air supremacy, the Luftwaffe drops thousands of bombs to neutralize the few aircrafts on the ground and to inflict maximum damage to the defenders' positions. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, May 20th, 1941. Operation Mercure, named after the swift Greek god Hermes, has officially started.
At the time, some 40,000 men were defending the island under General Freyberg. 30,000 Britons, Australians and New Zealanders, and another 10,000 Greeks. There were more than the Germans, but they were lacking heavy equipment and ammunition. The German forces were 22,000 seasoned fighters, 13,000 Fallschirmjäger and 9,000 Gebirgsjäger. We are on Hill 107, overlooking the airfield of Maleme, defended by the 22nd New Zealand Battalion.
Eight o'clock in the morning on May 20th, the first wave of thousands of German paratroopers jumping out of dozens of Junkers 52 land near Maleme and the town of Hania. The Germans suffered heavy casualties within the first hours of the invasion in this area, Andreas informs me. A single company of the 3rd Battalion, 1st Assault Regiment, lost 112 killed out of 126 men. 400 of the battalion's 600 were killed before the end of the first day. In the afternoon of the same day, Germans attempt to capture the airfields of Rethymno and Heraklion, some 100 miles to the east. The defenders fight fiercely, and at the end of day one, enemy casualties number a staggering 1,800 men in all three sectors. "4,600 Germans are buried here, in the Maleme War Cemetery, 15 miles from Hania. Leaving the Maleme battlegrounds, we take the road into the White Mountains. A short drive from Souda, in the Askifu Plateau, we want to visit an old friend's amazing World War II collection.
Vangelis, the Fallschirmjäger jumped from the aircraft carrying only their sidearms. Heavy guns and other equipment were dropped separately in large crates with parachutes of different color. As soon as they landed, they had to rally to the crates in order to secure their weapons and ammunition. For a few moments, paratroopers were extremely vulnerable. They were disoriented and exposed to enemy fire that was coming from every possible direction.
We should also mention, Andrea, something that you briefly implied in the beginning of this video, that the Germans were also confronted with an unexpected, very unpleasant situation. Everywhere on Crete, civilians, men, women, teenagers, priests, monks, armed or otherwise, joined the battle with whatever weapon was at hand.
You're right, Vangelis. Come with me, I want to show you something. In some cases, ancient rifles, which had been last used against the Turks, were dug up from their hiding places. In other cases, civilians went into action armed only with what they could gather from the kitchens or barns.
This would be the first occasion in the war that the Germans encountered widespread and unrestrained resistance from a civilian population, and for a period of time it unbalanced them. Once they recovered from their shock, paratroopers reacted with ferocity, killing many civilians. As most Cretan partisans wear no uniforms or identifying insignia such as armbands, the Germans felt free of all the constraints implied by the Geneva Conventions and killed both armed and unarmed civilians indiscriminately.
On day one, the great success for the Germans is that they managed to cut off communications for the battalion that is commanding Hill 107, forcing the commander of the battalion to withdraw since he is attacked from 3 different positions, and the hill is lost. Cult student, on the next day, decides to concentrate his attack on Maleme, since it's the only place where Germans had successes. In a couple of days, Germans managed to control the airfield. And since they have the airfield, they can land more troops. Thousands of troops arrive from mainland Greece, and that is the beginning of the end.
With thousands of German reinforcements arriving from the mainland, it's all now just a matter of time. For a few days, the defenders fight the invaders with everything they've got, but soon it becomes clear that Crete cannot be held against the superior German forces. Leaving the War Museum in Askifu, we are driving towards one of the main evacuation points on the south coast.
May 27th, the orders for the evacuation arrived. Until June 1st, more than 10,000 exhausted men managed to leave from the small fisherman's village that is right behind me.
It is fair to say that the evacuation of some 18,000 men from Crete to Africa can be described as a mini Dunkirk, as all kinds of ships were mobilized to save them: Royal Navy, fishing caiques and sailing boats. The brave ones that never made it home are still here, in the Commonwealth War Cemetery, just a few minutes from the port of Souda. Crete fell, but its people never stopped fighting. Thousands escaped to the mountains and organized the local resistance, but that's a story I will share with you in a different episode. I am Vangelis. Thank you for watching.